हरे कृष्णा। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा. So welcome back to the 7th day of this course, Demystifying Raganuga Bhakti. So we have been primarily discussing from this book Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the section on Raganuga Sadhana, which is in the eastern section, second wave. So as we discussed before, the eastern section, second wave talks about Sadhana Bhakti, and Sadhana Bhakti is of two types, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, in which in the previous course we discussed elaborately in 29 sessions about Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti in the course titled Rediscovering Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And as a sequel to that first course, we are discussing now this course on Raganuga Sadhana, which is titled as Demystifying Raganuga Sadhana. So, last time we started discussing about, last time we started discussing about practice of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, and in that we had discussed many topics. I think about 17-18 odd topics we had discussed. I will do a quick recap. Today's recap session will be little long because we have covered lot of material about this actual practice of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So I will do a quick recap of this theme, and then subsequently we will not recap on this particular theme. So we discussed about the four essential elements of Raganuga practice. Krishnam smaran janam chasya preshtam nijasamihitam tattat kata ratischasau kuryad vasam vraje sada. So we discussed that how there are four elements of Raganuga sadhana. One is remembrance of Krishna, along with remembrance of those Vrajavasis whose mood the practitioner is trying to imbibe. And the third is tattat kata rataha, and he is very eager to hear about those pastimes that Krishna performed with those particular Vrajavasis. And kuryad vasam vraje sada, as far as possible one tries to stay in Vrindavan. So these are the four elements of practice of Raganuga sadhana. And then we also discussed about the right kind of meditation for a Raganuga sadhaka is to, if he is, let's say for example, if he is aspiring for Sakyaras, then he may meditate on Shridama, how he looks, what are his services, how he serves Krishna, what is his mood, and all those and various pastimes related to Krishna one may hear like that. So in this way, one's meditation and hearing becomes more and more specific depending on the kind of mood that one is aspiring for. And then we discussed on this theme of how will I know which Vrajavasi to follow. The answer is, if someone is asking this question, then he is not really qualified for practicing Raganuga sadhana, because by practice of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, naturally when the heart becomes purified, in that purified heart, due to further process of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the 10th canto and books like Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc., naturally and spontaneously an appreciation for the love of Vrajavasis towards Krishna manifests. And when that matures little further, one automatically identifies which one to follow. So therefore, if one is wondering, oh, which Vrajavasi should I follow, then the point is no need to follow, just continue practicing your Vaidhi sadhana. That is the answer. Then we also discussed what are the prerequisites for remembering Krishna and the Vrajavasis. We saw two prerequisites. One is purity of heart and the second is suitable knowledge. So purity of heart is needed because while the mind is completely filled with all kinds of material thoughts, to think of Krishna will be absolutely impossible. And second is, we need some proper subject matters to discuss. So these two things, aspects are discussed by Narottam Das Thakur in his bhajan. Vishaya chadiya kabe shuddha habe man, kabe hama herebo Shri Vrindavan. When the mind becomes completely purified from the material anxieties and desires, then I shall be able to understand Vrindavan and the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna. And also, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Haibe Akuti, Kabe Hama Bhuja Bose Yugala Piriti. Where Narottam Das Thakur says that when I become very much eager to study the books left behind by the 6 Goswamis, especially Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, then I shall be able to understand the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. So these two things, purification of heart by a prior practice of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, and then the right subject matter to absorb oneself in through the writings of the 6 Goswamis, these are the two prerequisites for actually progressing on the path of Raganuga Sadhana. And then the next thing that we discussed was that how this development of attraction towards Vrindavan and the Vrajavasis is gradual. It is not overnight. It's not that one wakes up and finds, oh, I have great attraction for the Vrajavasis. Oh, this is the person whom I want to follow. It's not like that. When a person reaches the stage of Nishtha or beyond, first what he develops is a general appreciation to the love of the Vrajavasis towards Krishna. This is stage 1. Then in stage 2, he develops attraction amongst the Vrajavasis. He identifies Vrajavasis in a particular rasa and he develops appreciation towards them. Let's say Sakhya ras. Then the third stage is within Sakhya ras he may develop particular attraction to a particular Sakha, maybe Subal, Sridama, like that. And then when he starts hearing more, remembering more and worshipping along those lines, then when he reaches the stage of bhava, he identifies his own spiritual form in Vrindavan, what service he performs, what times, how does he perform that service, where, everything gets revealed at the stage of bhava. So it's a gradual development after reaching the stage of Nishtha and not before that. This we discussed. Then we also understood that how genuine Raganuga Bhakti cannot be imitated. Because it requires tremendous purity of heart which develops through very gradual practice of devotional sadhana, rigorous devotional sadhana over a long period of time. Therefore, one cannot artificially imitate. While one is simultaneously troubled by these material anarthas, one cannot artificially think that they can actually practice Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Then the next theme, important theme that we discussed was the internal and external practices in Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi tad bhava lipsuna karya vrajalokanusarutah. How a Raganuga sadhaka internally meditates on the Vrajavasi and externally meditates and tries to follow the 6 Goswamis. So this is Sadhaka Rupa Seva and Siddha Rupa Seva. So the Sadhaka Rupa Seva is the external practice by seeing the 6 Goswamis and their followers, and it could be even Vartaman Acharyas, our own Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, like that. And the Siddha Rupa Seva, the internal meditation, is on that particular Vrajavasi whom we may be trying to follow. And this Siddha Deha is not an imagination. So therefore, it is a matter of revelation which manifests through sincere practice of sadhana, because of which the heart has been thoroughly cleansed. So therefore, One cannot just imagine a Siddha Deha, oh, this is my form in Vrindavan, this is my service, like that. So imagining a form cannot invoke love for Krishna, rather it becomes an obstacle to developing genuine love for Krishna. And in this context we discussed the example of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, how when another person came and took residence near his bhajan kutir and he started imitating by loudly crying and artificially showing the ecstatic symptoms, then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj advised him, just like a barren woman, just by shouting and screaming the sounds which come out of generally women in labor while due to labor pain, just by imitating that you cannot become pregnant and deliver a child. Similarly, by artificially imitating the external signs of ecstasy, you cannot actually get that love of God, he explained. So therefore, imagination is not only a means of attaining perfection, but it becomes a serious obstacle in actually attaining perfection. And also, we saw the ninth theme in this topic that we saw was that how the Sahajiyas actually misinterpret this verse. So the Sahajiyas have two types of misinterpretation. One is, they say that you have to follow the Vrajavasis seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi. You have to follow the Vrajavasis both in your sadhaka deha and siddha deha. So what they say is that you have to follow the Vrajavasis both internally and externally. So therefore, you find males aspiring for the form of gopis, dressing in saris and wearing the ornaments of a gopi, speaking like a gopi and in the voice of a gopi, some most abominable kind of imitations which lead to lot of debauchery and other such disgraceful things actually. This is one kind of imitation which is a product of misinterpretation of this particular verse by Srila Rupa Goswami. Even though Jiva Goswami has amply clarified in his commentary, but they consider even Jiva Goswami as non-bona fide. This is the problem. They accept Rupa Goswami but reject Jiva Goswami. Even though Jiva Goswami was the one who was constantly assisting Rupa Goswami in compiling Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but they have the audacity to reject even Jiva Goswami as a bona fide authority. And the second kind of Sahajiyas who misinterpret this verse, they say that actually the gopis never followed the Ekadashi Vrata, the gopis never accepted a guru, the gopis never had a regulative practice of devotional service. So therefore we are trying to follow in the footsteps of gopis. Why do we have to follow all that? We will reject all that. So they reject. So this is another kind of misinterpretation. And even during the time of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, a person by the name of Roop Kaviraj, he actually propagated this kind of false understanding, and eventually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he drove this Roop Kaviraj away from Vrindavan, and he eventually left his body due to leprosy. So therefore the right understanding is that internally one may have to follow the Vrajavasis according to the guidance of the Guru, but externally one's activities should be perfectly following the Goswamis and the Acharyas in the Parampara. So none of the Acharya who compiled this book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he never dressed in this way and he never acted in this way. So this is all due to fertile imagination and nothing more than that. So if this is the misinterpretation of this, misinterpreted application of this verse, what is the right application of this verse? How do we follow this principle? Siddha Rupa Seva internally and Sadhaka Rupa Seva externally, how do we follow in the present context of ISKCON? So we discussed that how if someone may be aspiring for let's say a mode of conjugal affection. So he may internally follow the activities of Rupa Manjari or other such Sakhis, whose other such Manjaris whose descriptions are given in various literatures, and externally he would try to follow the footsteps of Rupa Goswami. So he would hear lot of descriptions of how Rupa Goswami acted, how he wrote so many literatures, how he pleased Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by understanding his heart, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dealt with him, how all the various devotees dealt with him. All of that he hears with rapt attention, with great affection. So this is one way of cultivating this internal and external practice. And also, as practitioners following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada in ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada is also, we can hear, there is so much literature written about Prabhupada, we can hear about him a lot, and that also enhances that mood, one progresses. Then we also discussed, the next theme that we discussed was a clarification on these terminologies, Sadhaka Rupa and Siddha Rupa. Even though commonly the word Sadhaka is used to indicate a student or a practitioner, and a Siddha is used to indicate a person who has achieved perfection. In this context, if you see, we are calling the Sadhaka Rupa as Rupa Goswami and the Siddha Rupa as Rupa Manjari. So in this context, it may seem like, oh, Rupa Goswami is a Sadhaka only, he is not a Siddha, but only Rupa Manjari is Siddha. But it is not like that, so we clarified that Sadhaka Rupa means the form that the devotee has in Chaitanya Leela, and Siddha Rupa means that the form that the devotee has in Vrindavan in Krishna's pastimes. So therefore both these forms are perfected forms, and that is the right understanding, and only by such an understanding we can progress in devotional service. If we think that Rupa Goswami is just a practitioner, then that is the biggest mistake that we are committing. Therefore Narottam Das Thakur, we saw last time, he writes, Gaurangera Sangigane Nitya Siddha Karimane Shejai Vrajendra Sutapash. So one who accepts the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Nitya Siddha devotees, eternally perfect devotees assisting him in his pastimes in Navadvip, in the spiritual world, only such people can actually become very dear to Krishna in Vrindavan. So this was the 11th theme that we discussed, and then the 12th theme that we discussed was that how the practice, through external practice, you cannot identify whether he is a Raganuga Bhakta or a Vaidhi Bhakta, because the same 64 limbs that are practiced by the Vaidhi Sadhakas are actually practiced by Raganuga Sadhakas. Then the next theme, 13th theme that we discussed was that, but the approach to various limbs may be slightly different. The mood of approach to hearing, chanting, deity worship for a Raganuga Sadhaka, even though externally he may hear Bhagavatam, he may chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he may worship the deities, but internally his mood of approach to these processes changes. It is slightly different. So for example, in the process of hearing that we saw, even though there are many topics to hear, a person who has become qualified to hear, qualified to practice Raganuga Sadhana, he may more specifically hear the 10th canto pastimes of Krishna, and especially Krishna and Vrindavan pastimes, and even within that he may give little more preference to hearing those pastimes of Krishna with those devotees whose mood he is aspiring for. For example, if he is aspiring for Sakhya Bhav, then he may hear little more pastimes which speak about Sakhya Rasa, like that. So in this way, his hearing, he is committed to hearing, in fact more committed to hearing than even the Vaidhi Sadhaka, but then he may be more committed to hearing Krishna Katha than even the Vaidhi Sadhaka, but then his hearing becomes little more specific, like that. So then that's his approach to hearing. Then what is his approach to deity worship? In deity worship we saw that such a person, he performs deity worship just like any other Vaidhi Sadhaka, but then he may choose to not perform some small limbs within that Archana Paddhati, which may be specifically recommended only for Vaidhi Sadhakas. Like for example, there may be some elements in the deity worship in which there is worship of Rukmini and Dwarakadish. He may not choose to perform that worship. Okay, and then while dressing the deities, he may think that instead of thinking, what is the right, what are the rules and regulations for dressing the deities, he may more start thinking in terms of how would this Vrajavasi dress Krishna. That does not mean he would concoct any new ways of dressing. He would follow the standard procedure, but the inspiration would come from how the Vrajavasi would dress Krishna, like that. And also, one should not criticize the Raganuga practitioners, because they may sometimes tend to neglect some small elements of practice which are recommended for Vaidhi Sadhakas. And this he discussed by quoting various verses from Bhagavatam to give support to this point. Yanastaya naro rajan na pramadyeta karhichit davan nimilyava netre naskalen na patediha. So where it is mentioned in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that this path of bhakti is so potent that even if one runs with his eyes closed on this path, on this sparkling path, one will not slip or fall down, which indicates the inner meaning as explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is that even if a practitioner may neglect one or two limbs which may not be exactly relevant for him, he is not at fault and he will not be penalized for that, like that. Then, but one may say then, how do you decide which limbs to follow and which limbs to not follow? What is the criteria and how do we decide about it? In this context, we discussed about how the various limbs are divided into 5 categories: Bhavamaya, Bhava Sambandhi, Bhava Anukul, Bhava Aviruddha and Bhava Pratikul. So the 64 limbs are divided into these 5 categories, where the Bhava Maya are those very limbs. These are actually specific portions within limbs, like for example hearing. If they are aspiring for Sakya Bhav, they may hear more prominently pastimes of Krishna with his Gopa friends. So, and these are things which may naturally enhance their rasa. So these are Bhava Maya activities which are highly recommended and which can definitely nourish their particular mood very strongly. Then next comes Bhava Sambandhi. So the Bhava Sambandhi items are those which are very favorable to nourish one's bhakti. This they also accept with great enthusiasm. This refers to the last 5 limbs, the 5 most potent limbs: attachment to serving the lotus feet of the deity, relishing Srimad Bhagavatam, association with like-minded affectionate devotees, chanting the name of the Lord and residing in Mathura. They engage in these 5 items along with accepting a guru, serving a guru, the first 3-4 limbs connected to the guru. They follow with great enthusiasm, and these are also absolutely mandatory limbs. This is the second category. Then the third category are Bhava Anukul, activities which are favorable for one's bhava. These are not absolutely indispensable. Under some circumstances, they may choose to not perform these activities also, but generally they are considered to be favorable. So these activities include observing Ekadashi, celebrating Janmashtami and these activities. And then comes Bhava Aviruddha, means Bhava Aviruddha indicates that activities which may not be very incompatible with one's bhava, they are neutral. So if they do it, it's fine. If they don't do it also, it's fine. That is no problem. So this indicates the limbs which fall within from the sixth limb, or you can say like from the 21st to the 59th limb. The 39 limbs in between are neutral limbs for a Raganuga sadhaka. If he performs, there is no problem, it is not against his devotional practice. And if he chooses not to perform in favor of those more favorable limbs, then also he is not at fault. Then finally, the bhava pratikul items are those items which do not suit the mood that he is trying to cultivate. So these are like, as we saw, worshipping Rukmini Dwarakadish, or meditating on the Dwaraka Dham, or worshipping the other or worshipping the other forms like Lakshmi Narayan, etc. They are perfectly bona fide devotional activities which fall within the category of pure devotional service, but it may not necessarily be nourishing this practicing Raganuga sadhaka's devotion. It may not nourish that particular mood. That does not mean that they disrespect the other forms of the Lord. They very much respect, but at the same time their attachment is to serve and worship the form of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. But having said this, what is the application of this principle in today's ISKCON? Because today's ISKCON is a world organization, and every temple that you stay, or even if you may stay in the congregation, there are other devotees who look up to you, who watch your practice, and who may not be qualified enough to be at the level of Raganuga sadhana. So therefore, we have to be very, very sensitive and careful to understand that every action that we perform is watched by younger devotees who may try to follow in our footsteps, or who may even try to imitate. So therefore, our activities, even though we may internally be elevated, but externally we should act in such a way that it sets the best example for the newest of the new devotee who walks into the ISKCON temple. So therefore, our public practice should be perfectly in line with the Vaidhi sadhaka's practice. Even those limbs which he is allowed to give up, a Raganuga sadhaka is allowed to give up, should not be publicly given up by this personality. So this we have to be very careful to understand. So this is where we ended our discussion last time. Now we will discuss the last theme in this topic of practice of Raganuga Bhakti. This is a very important theme. The theme is, what is a Raganuga sadhaka's relationship with his guru? Because many times we may think, oh, but a Vaidhi sadhaka acts according to the guidance of Guru Sadhu Shastra, but a Raganuga sadhaka follows his heart. He does not need the Shastras, he may not need the Guru also. But this is not a fact. In fact, this is completely contrary to the proper understanding. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds that apart from all these Bhava Anukul, Bhava Maya practices, one of the most important limbs is Vishrambena Guror Seva. This has to be practiced by the Raganuga sadhaka also. We see in the case of all our acharyas. I mean, if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, or if you hear the life stories of our acharyas, then we can understand what to speak of Raganuga sadhakas. Even the Ragatmika bhaktas, the perfected devotees, they had such attachment to their own gurus. We see the case of Narottam Das Thakur, who was from such a royal family, but just to attract the mercy of his guru, he went and he was every day cleaning the stool and urine of his own spiritual master Lokanath Goswami with his own hands. Vishrambena Guror Seva. What then to speak of the Raganuga Sadhaka? Definitely. In other words, as disciples advance on the path of Raganuga Bhakti, they never minimize or reject their Guru's instructions. In fact, they become all the more attached to the instructions of the Guru. But having said that, the way they look at their Guru becomes more sweet. A Vaidhi Sadhaka, his perception of the Guru is that, oh, my Guru is the perfect representative of the Guru Shishya Parampara. He is the perfect transparent via media of the Guru Shishya Parampara. He sees like that. Whereas a Raganuga Sadhaka, he also has that vision. My Guru is the perfect representative of the Guru Shishya Parampara. He is the perfect transparent via media of all the instructions that are coming in the Parampara. But apart from that, he sees that his Guru is the most beloved associate and personal servant of Radha and Krishna. And it is he who is going to engage me in the service of Radha and Krishna. So he develops that kind of an attachment to his Guru. And this kind of attachment is described in many, many verses. The most common examples is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Gurvashtakam, which we all sing every day morning. Samsara Dava prayers. In that, in the 5th and 6th verse, how a disciple appreciates his Guru on the platform of Raganuga Sadhana is indicated here. So, we sing this bhajan every day morning. Shri Radhika Madhavayora Para Madhurya Leela Guna Rupanam Nam Pratikshana Swadana Lolupasya Vande Guru Shri Charana Ravindam. So we sing this every day. What is the meaning of this verse? Many of us may not have read the meaning, or even if we had casually read, we may not remember the meaning. But it's a very deep appreciation. So this paragraph and the subsequent next paragraph indicates how a Raganuga Sadhaka sees his Guru. What is his relationship with his Guru? He says, Pratikshana Aswadana Lolupasya. The Guru, he sees his Guru as being constantly greedy to taste. What does he want to taste? Apara, the unlimited Madhurya Leela, the unlimited conjugal pastimes. Shri Radhika Madhavayor. So, he sees that the Guru has insatiable eagerness to taste constantly the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Guna Rupa Namnam, and their qualities, names and forms. Vande Guru Shri Charana Ravindam. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my Guru. So he sees, so when one becomes qualified to practice Raganuga, then he also becomes qualified to see his Guru as being similarly qualified. So therefore a Vaidhi Sadhaka will see his Guru also as a Vaidhi Sadhaka. Whereas one who becomes that disciple who becomes qualified to practice Raganuga Bhakti can immediately identify his guru also to be qualified to practice Raganuga Bhakti. And then his appreciation takes this form. He is able to see that how his spiritual master, he is constantly aspiring. He has constant greed to relish those pastimes of conjugal pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. That is why if we are able to not perceive that aspect of our spiritual master, then probably we are also on the stage of Vaidhi sadhana only. And the next verse, Nikunjayo no rati keli siddhyai yayali bir yuktira pekshaniya tatrati dakshadati vallabhasya vande guru shri charanaravindam. So we see Ati Vallabhasya, the spiritual master is very, very dear to Radha and Krishna. Why? Tatra Ati Dakshad, because of being extremely expert, because of being very much expert, Yalibir, in assisting the gopis. So he is seeing that aspect of his spiritual master also. So he is able to see that how his spiritual master is involved in assisting the gopis in their service to Radha and Krishna. Yayalibir yuktir apekshaniya. So these gopis at different times make tasteful arrangements, ratikeli siddhyai, for the perfection of the conjugal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. They make very tasteful arrangements, and those gopis are assisted by his spiritual master. So this is the vision of the Raganuga sadhaka towards his spiritual master. So in this way, the appreciation of the guru is enhanced when one moves from Vaidhi sadhana to Raganuga sadhana. One sees that how this personality, this guru, is not only here to give me instructions about sadhana, but he is the one who is going to catch hold of my hands and take me in front of Radha and Krishna, and through him engage me in their service. So he sees the guru as the directly responsible person for achieving his perfection of life, which is direct service to the Vrajavasis. And this is also indicated in the book Manas Siksha by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, where he says, Na dharmam shruti gana niruktam kila kuru vraje radha krishna prachura paricharya mihatanu shachi sunum nandishwara pati sutatve guruvaram mukunda preshtatve smara paramajasram nanumana. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says that he had previously indicated that the goal of life is to worship Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So, if the goal of life is to worship Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, then what is the role, what is the position of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's worship? Why should we worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Because the goal is to worship Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. He says, Shachi sunum nandishwara pati sutatve smaramana. Oh mind, understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the son of Shachi Mata, is the same as Nandishwara Pati. Nandishwara is Nanda Maharaj. Nandishwara Pati Sutatve. Sorry, Nandishwara Pati is Nanda Maharaj. And Suta, his son is Krishna. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. So he sees Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as being non-different from Krishna. Brajendra Nandana Jai Sachisuto Hoilo Sai Balaram Hoilo Nitai. So he sees that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Krishna. Therefore, worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually the means to get the qualification to worship Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Then what is the role of worshipping Guru? He says, Guruvaram Param Mukunda Preshtatve Smaramana. My dear mind, see your Guru as Param Mukunda Preshtatve, the dearmost servant of Lord Mukunda. So this is the vision of a Raganuga Sadhaka, that he starts seeing his Guru as the dearmost servant of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So therefore, this kind of an appreciation, therefore, as and when one becomes qualified to move into the path of Raganuga, his relationship with the Guru becomes doubly intimate, very, very thick. He sees his Guru as the only means of his success in his all spiritual aspirations. So therefore, one should not think that a Raganuga Sadhaka does not need the guidance of a Guru. It is all the more important when one reaches that platform actually. So in this way, we have discussed 18 different topics about a Raganuga Sadhaka's relation, about the practice of Raganuga Bhakti, actual practice of Raganuga Bhakti. So I will take 1 minute time just to read the titles alone, so that, because this is a very important section and it was a very elaborate section, so we will just quickly just see the titles, so that you can, while I am reading the title, you can try to quickly recollect what we have discussed in those titles. So let me just scroll down. It will just take a few seconds, and then I will quickly just read the titles before we move on to the next important theme. So okay, that's just last few seconds. I'm just almost there. Okay. So the first theme that we discussed in this practice of Raganuga Bhakti was the 4 elements of practice. I am not going to tell, you kindly recollect. Then the second theme that we discussed was what is the right kind of meditation of a Raganuga Sadhaka while he is practicing. Third theme, how will I know which Vrajavasi to follow? Fourth theme that we discussed, the 2 prerequisites for remembering Krishna and the Vrajavasis, which is purity of heart and proper knowledge about the pastimes. And then the 5th theme that we discussed was how this development of attraction for Vrindavan and the Vrajavasis is gradual. It happens gradually over a period of time. The 6th theme that we discussed was how genuine Raganuga Bhakti can never be imitated, because it is a product of sincere practice and purification of heart, and it's a revelation also. And 7th, we discussed about the internal practice and the external practice. Practice internally according to one's in the Siddha Rupa Seva and the Sadhaka Rupa Seva. We had an elaborate discussion on this. And then we also saw how one cannot imagine a Siddha Deha. Not only will it not help him progress, but it will become a serious obstacle in his progressing in spiritual life. Then we discussed how the Sahajiyas misinterpret this verse and as a result of this misinterpretation, how serious anomalous behaviors manifest due to that. We had an elaborate discussion on this. So we also saw the example of Rupa Kaviraj. And then if that is the misinterpretation, improper understanding of that verse, we also saw practically how we can apply for a Raganuga Sadhaka, the internal service and the external service in today's context of ISKCON, how it can be practiced. We discussed that. Then the 11th topic was we discussed that we need a clarification on these terminologies of Sadhaka Rupa and Siddha Rupa. We understood that Sadhaka Rupa indicates the form in Gaur Leela and Siddha Rupa is the form in Krishna Leela. But both these forms are eternally perfect Nitya Siddha forms, and only for clarification or clarity these two terminologies are used by Srila Rupa Goswami. Then we discussed that how externally you cannot see and identify whether a person is practicing Raganuga Sadhana or Vaidhi Sadhana, because both the Raganuga Sadhakas and Vaidhi Sadhakas practice the same limbs. And then we saw that, but the mood of approaching each of these limbs changes, even though the external limb itself may be the same. For example, how the Raganuga Sadhaka approaches the process of hearing, how he approaches deity worship, and then we discussed as a 15th limb that how even though the Raganuga Sadhakas may neglect a few, very few limbs which are specifically meant only for the Raganuga Vaidhi Sadhakas, despite that neglect, they are not criticized by the scriptures. Actually, it is recommended by the scriptures only. And then as the 16th theme, we discussed that how to decide which practices to follow and which ones to reject. In this theme, we discussed how the 64 limbs are divided into these 5 categories: Bhavamaya, Bhava Sambandhi, Bhava Anukul, Bhava Aviruddha, and Bhava Pratikul. And accordingly, one should choose or reject one's practice of limbs. But then the 17th limb was a caution. Even though one may become qualified to practice Raganuga Sadhana, because one should understand that we are a part of a world organization, so we should set the right examples for practicing sadhakas. So therefore, one should be very careful about their public practice of Raganuga Bhakti also. And then finally, the 18th theme that we discussed, last theme in this about this practice of Raganuga Bhakti, is a Raganuga Sadhaka's relationship with his Guru, how it intensifies and becomes sweeter when one reaches the stage of Raganuga Bhakti. So this is where we ended. This is a quick recap of the biggest theme of this course, which is practice of Raganuga Bhakti. How is it practiced? How it should not be practiced? We had an elaborate discussion. So with that, we will move on to the next important theme, which is, as we saw, Raganuga Bhakti. Just as Ragatmika Bhakti is of 2 types, Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti and Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. Similarly, Raganuga Bhakti is also similarly 2 types. Those who follow the Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhaktas are called as Kamanugas or Kama Rupa Raganuga Bhaktas. And those who follow the Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhaktis are the Vrajavasis in the mood of Vatsalya, like Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, or Sakya in the form of Sridama, Subal, or Dasya in the form of Raktak, Patrak, etc. So those who follow them are called as Sambandhanugas or Sambandha Rupa Raganuga Bhaktas. Now we will try to discuss the next elaborate theme is elements of practice of Kamanuga Bhakti. How is Kamanuga Bhakti practiced? And what are the elements of its practice? Which means, how do we follow the gopis of Vrindavan? If that is our aspiration, how is it actually practiced? That's what we are going to discuss. And I want to remind you, if you think this is too esoteric, actually this is part of Bhakti Shastri syllabus only. If you have a doubt, you can open the 15th and 16th chapters of NOD and all these subject matters are discussed there. Just that we are going into little more detail, it may seem little odd for most of us because we are practicing Vaidhi sadhana, but nevertheless one need not feel odd because we are not going to practice it, but we should know what is the road ahead. In fact, within the Bhakti Shastri portion comes Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti also, which are much more esoteric. The 17th and 18th chapter of NOD talks about Bhava Bhakti and the 19th chapter talks about Prema Bhakti. So, we don't want to practice it prematurely, but we want to worship it. And in order to worship it, we need to know the details of this path. How glorious is this path? And how I should not be intent on imitating it. So, we are approaching this topic with due diligence, with utmost caution and with utmost respect. As Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to always say, Pujala Ragapata Gaurava Bange Matala Harijana Vishaya Range. He used to say that the path of Raganuga Bhakti is fit to be worshipped by us. So therefore, in order to worship, we need to know. And only those details which we need to know in order to worship, only those details we are trying to understand. So, we are not trying to go beyond our adhikar as Vaidhi sadhakas. I am speaking this course, I am presenting this course only as a practicing, struggling Vaidhi sadhaka only. So, even though the topic that we are going to address may seem like very high level, but it is presented in a very non-sensual way, so that a Vaidhi sadhaka can get the right kind of inspiration to aspire for this path sometime in future. So therefore, therefore this is not a forbidden topic, but it is something which we need to hear, and it is presented in such a way that we can never get the inspiration to prematurely practice it. But at the same time, we will not hate it or we will not become fearful of it. So this kind of balanced appreciation for this process should be there, and that's what we are trying to achieve. So we will try to understand the elements of practice of Kamarupa Raganuga Bhakti or Kamanuga Bhakti. Of course, here as we saw before, Kama here refers to Prema only. It is called as Kama because that Prema is expressed in the form of conjugal affection. That is why it is called as Kama. Otherwise, this Kama has nothing to do with mundane lust between any ordinary male and female. Okay. So, here Srila Rupa Goswami writes, Kamanuga bhavet trishna kama rupanugamini sambhoga ichchamayi tattad bhave chatma bhavetma bhava ichchatma iti sadvida. He says that Kamanuga bhavet trishna kama rupanugamini. The that Raganuga sadhana bhakti which is filled with longing. As we saw that the qualification for Raganuga bhakti is lobha, greed, longing to follow in the footsteps of the Vrajavasis. But when that greed to follow in the footsteps of the Vrajavasis takes the shape of greed to follow in the footsteps of the gopis of Vrindavan, then that is called as Kamanuga Bhakti or Kamarupa Raganuga Bhakti. Okay. Within this there are two types. One is called as Sambhoga Ichchamayi, the second is called as Tattad Bhava Icchatma. So we will briefly try to see what are these two types of Kama Rupa Raganuga Bhakti or Kamanuga Bhakti. Okay. So here we should understand that there is a difference between following after these gopis and imitating their activities. So one should not say that the gopis actually worshipped the demigods. The gopis worshipped Katyayani Devi, they worshipped, they perform Katyayani Vrata. And they worship sun god. And like that. So one should not say that why can't we worship the demigods? Why can't we perform Katyayani Vrata? Like that. So if the devotees perform such actions, will it harm the purity of their bhakti? If a Raganuga Sadhaka thinks, why should I not worship the demigods? He says, and also as we discussed before, the gopis did not perform Ekadashi Vrata. The gopis did not accept gurus. They didn't have a fixed sadhana. But Srila Jiva Goswami mentions that there is a difference between following in the footsteps and imitating. Following in the footsteps means under the guidance of a bona fide guru. So these elements of demigod worship, see their demigod worship, when they worship the demigods, that is born out of pure love. They are, that is why they say, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyehana Bujai. The activities and intent of a perfected devotee on the platform of bhava and prema cannot be understood by ordinary people or even ordinary devotees. Sadhakas cannot understand, because sometimes those activities may be contrary to the rules of even bhakti literatures. Like for example, worshipping the demigods. How can one worship the demigods, one may say? But their worship of demigod is a byproduct of their love for Krishna. But this cannot be understood by Vaidhi sadhakas. So therefore they should not try to imitate those activities which may be contrary to the common bhakti understanding. Like for example, worship of demigods. So there is a difference between imitating and following in the footsteps. And the gopis did not accept a guru. They did not practice chanting on beads. Are we going to practice that? Then that would become imitation. That is why seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi. One's internal meditation should be after the Vrajavasis, and external practice should be strictly following the Goswamis of Vrindavan. What they did, Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Natibi Kalavasani Kritau. They performed such regulated practice of devotional service, counting every single Mahamantra that they chanted, counting the obeisances, the number of obeisances that they would offer. Nidrahara Viharakadi Vijitau Chatyanta Dinau Chayau. And for performing that kind of strict sadhana, they used to even sacrifice their sleep and food. So those are the role models whom we should try to emulate. We cannot try to imitate the gopis every single action. In fact, externally we are not supposed to imitate them at all. It is just an internal meditation. So therefore, even though Kamanuga Bhakta or a Kamarupa Raganuga Bhakta who is trying to follow after the gopis, externally he follows after the Goswamis. Scrupulously, very attentively. So one should not try to imitate, rather one should try to follow in the footsteps. So therefore the word Anugamini means following after and not imitating. One should follow after them in the sense of accepting the gopis' sentiments. Why they are worshipping the Katyayani Devi? In order to attain their love is, the true love of the gopis or the Brajavasis, that is actually blind. They can't even see that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they can't see that Krishna is the controller of the demigods. They say, whoever can help me achieve Krishna's association, I am willing to worship them. That was the kind of love, and that love was covering their eyes. We don't have that kind of love. We cannot imitate these actions. So therefore, it does not mean we have to literally follow everything that they do. Like that. So therefore, one should not try to imitate. There is a difference between imitation and following in the footsteps. Okay, so the next theme that we are going to discuss is that we saw that there are two types of this Raganuga Bhaktas who are trying to follow in the footsteps of the gopis. As we saw, Sambhoga Ichchamayi and Tattad Bhava Ichchatma. These are the two forms. So what is the meaning of these two? Srila Rupa Goswami says, Keli tatparyavatyeva sambhogechamayi bhavet tattad bhavechatmika tasam bhava madhurya kamita. He says, Keli tatparyavatyeva sambhoga ichchamayi bhavet. So what is this sambhoga ichchamayi kind of Raganuga Bhakti? He says, Sambhoga means direct union with Krishna. Direct conjugal dealings with Krishna. So when one aspires for direct conjugal relationship with Krishna, that is called as Sambhoga Ichchamayi. So Keli Tatparyavati. So Keli means the conjugal pastimes. So when one tries to directly aspire for engaging in pastimes with Krishna, that is called as Sambhoga Ichchamayi Raganuga Bhakti. What is Tattad Bhava Ichchatmika? He says, if one, after seeing the gopis of Vrindavan, their love for Krishna, if one very deeply aspires for that love and not for the direct association itself, that is called as Tattad Bhava Ichchatmika Raganuga Bhakti. So they are not aspiring for direct conjugal relationship with Krishna, but they are aspiring for that mood and intensity of love that the gopis have for Krishna. So therefore it is mentioned here, Sambhoga Ichchamayi means following those who are Kama Prayas. Of course here Kama Praya is not used in the sense of being Kubja. Kubja was also called a Kama Praya, but here the use of the word Kama Praya means Kamarupa Ragatmika Bhaktas, which are the gopis of Vrindavan. So Sambhoga Ichchamayi means following the gopis of Vrindavan, they also are aspiring for a similar kind of union with Krishna, conjugal union. But Tattad Bhava Ichchatmika means they are not aspiring for conjugal union, but they are aspiring for the mood of service that the gopis have towards Krishna. There is difference. And according to Srila Rupa Goswami, here Jiva Goswami mentions that according to Rupa Goswami, the second type of Tattat Bhava Ichatmika Bhakti is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach. This is the mood of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. We don't aspire to have a direct relationship with Krishna. If we at all become qualified to practice Raganuga Bhakti, still at that stage we aspire for the mood of the gopis, the service mood of the gopis, and not that service itself, and not that kind of service itself. Okay, as Raganuga Bhaktas we may not aspire for that. Then at what stage we can aspire? The Acharyas say at no stage. At no stage we aspire for the kind of service, but we always aspire for that service mood. Provided we are, even for aspiring for the service mood of particular gopis, we have to become qualified to practice Raganuga Bhakti. Only if we have that qualification. And this is indicated, this is illustrated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Striya Uragendra Bhoga Bhujadanda Vishakta Diyo Vayam Apite Sama Samadrisho Angri Saroja Sudaha. So this, we saw this verse before only. This was a verse spoken by the personified Vedas, where they indicate that we also wish to develop a same mood of service that the gopis of Vrindavan have towards you, Krishna. Like that, the personified Vedas are offering prayers to Krishna. So here the gopis of Vrindavan are the Kamarupa Ragatmika Bhaktas, the perfected devotees, and the Shrutis or the Vedas personified are the Kamanugas or Kamarupa Raganuga Bhaktas, who are following the footsteps of the gopis of Vrindavan. So then, Sambhoga Ichchami means bhakti consisting of the two types of activities, mental activity and physical activity. So mentally they may be thinking of their uniting with Krishna, and physically also they may be working in that direction. So just like the leader of a group of gopis, like for example like Chandravali, but Tattat Bhava Ichatmika means the desire to taste the special bhava in relationship with Krishna possessed by a particular woman of Vraja. So aspiring for that particular service mode and not that kind of service itself. So this is superior, we try to understand. So now the next question is, so we have seen these two types of Kamanuga Bhakti or Kamarupa Raganuga Bhakti, Sambhoga Ichchamayi and Tattat Bhava Ichatmika Bhakti. Now the next theme that we will discuss is, what is the qualification for Kamanuga Bhakti? Who is qualified to follow in the footsteps of the gopis on the platform of Raganuga Sadhana? Who is it? Srila, how does one develop that qualification? So here Srila Rupa Goswami says, Shri Murter Madurim Prekshya Tattad Leelam Nishamyava Tad Bhava Kankshino Yesyus Teshu Sadana Tanayoho Purane Shruyate Padme Pumsam Api Bhaved Iyam. So he says, Tad Bhava Akankshino. This is Tattat Bhava Ichatma. Tad bhava akankshino ye. Those who have this deep greed to develop that same mood of service that the gopis have for Krishna. How did they develop this greed? Shri Murter Madhurim Prekshya. After taking darshan of the deity forms of the Lord, along with his gopis, Tattad Leela Nishamyava, after hearing the pastimes of Krishna along with the gopis, after taking darshan of the deity forms, after hearing this Leela, Tad Bhava Akankshino, they develop this deep desire to follow in the footsteps of these gopis. Sadhana Tanayoho Syuhu, they become qualified for practicing this Kamarupa Raganuga Bhakti or Kamanuga Bhakti. And the Padma Puran says that even males, sadhakas with male bodies, they can aspire to achieve that goal. They can aspire to become followers of the gopis. So, devotees should see the particular sweetness of the pastimes through the deity forms of Krishna and his consorts, or hear about the sweetness of their love and pastimes. So, they should see the deity form, the sweetness in that deity form, and also hear. Of the two, hearing is more important. So therefore, he says, without hearing, there will be no manifestation of their basic forms and pastimes. So therefore, when you see the deity form, you cannot remember those pastimes that Krishna performed if you have not heard. Therefore, Shravanam is utmost important. So therefore, even though we may not have deity forms that we can see and serve, but still if hearing is strong, then one can develop the same mood. Like we see in the case of Mother Rukmini, she never saw the form of Krishna, or we see the case of the Brahman Patnis, they only heard, Mother Rukmini also only heard, but she developed that deep affection. Of course, we understand that Mother Rukmini is an eternal consort of the Supreme Lord, and only for this purpose of the pastime purpose we are discussing this. But nevertheless, the point is very clear, and this is how the gopis also at the stage of Purva Rag, they have only heard about Krishna, but they have not seen Krishna. So of the two, hearing is most important, but along with hearing, if there are also deity forms which we can see, serve and appreciate, then it all the more enhances the greed to follow in the footsteps of the gopis. Like that. So such people are qualified for practicing Raganuga, this kind of Kamarupa Raganuga sadhana. So interestingly, the scriptures say that even males can aspire for the mood of the gopis. One may say, this sounds very awkward. Like for example, even in material world, if you see, males have only male role models, females have only female role models, unless someone has some serious hormonal issues. They don't aspire for, their role models are always of the same gender. But in spiritual life, one may say, how is it that a male can aspire for developing the mood of a gopi? Or Mother Yashoda, like that. So this sounds very forbidden and awkward, but one need not feel like that, because the all said and done, the male body or a female body is just a material upadhi. The soul has no gender. So therefore, this is only a temporary thing. So at the stage when the heart becomes completely cleansed, sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So when one overcomes on practical level also all the upadis, then it becomes all the more possible that one may aspire for that mood of love. That does not mean that one immediately starts, medically if you test that male's testosterone level, it's not that he would have less testosterone and more estrogen or something like that. You know what? The female hormone would not have increased, the male hormone would not have decreased. Nothing of that sort happens because this is not a biological thing. This is a transformation of the heart. So therefore it's not a biological thing. He perfectly acts like a normal male only. But internally one may develop that aspiration, seeing the kind of the intensity of love and the flavor of love. So this is certainly not something very forbidden, and this he is going to attain only in his next life. And according to Bhagavatam, most of the materialistic males have been females in their previous life, and while giving up their body, thinking of their dear wife or lover, when they give up their body, they attain a female form. And similarly, the females, when they think of their husbands or lovers, and when they give up their body, they get a male form. So this male getting a female form in the next life and female getting a male form in the next life, even in the material world, is absolutely common. So therefore it should not sound very forbidden. And here it is mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, an episode from Ramayana is quoted here. Here it is mentioned, Pura maharshayas sarve dandakaranya vasinah drishtva ramam harim tatra bhoktumeichan suvigraham te sarve strittvamapanna samudbhutascha gokule harim samprapya kamena tato mukta bhavarnavat. It is mentioned that Pura means in one of the previous kalpas, sarve dandakaranya vasinah maharshayah, all the Maharishis who were staying in the forest of Dandakaranya, they were performing intense bhakti. Bhakti for whom? Bhakti towards Lord Krishna. So, but one may say, but Krishna comes after Lord Ram only. How did they know about Krishna? Lord Ram comes in the 8th Chaturyuga. Some people say it's 8th Chaturyuga, some people say it's the 20th Chaturyuga. Whatever it is significantly millions of years before Lord Krishna appears. So, it is mentioned that Lord Ram came millions or probably even billions of years before Krishna came. So how is it that these Dandakaranya rishis were meditating on Krishna and Krishna's pastimes? We understand that Krishna appears once in every day of Brahma. Similarly, Lord Ram also. So many days of Brahma had been passed. Currently, the 51st year of Brahmaji is going on, or the current Brahma. So 50 years have already been passed. Today is the first day of Krishna's 51st year. Today is Brahmaji's birthday. Today means when? Today means today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, 100 years from now, millions of years from now. Because one day of Brahma is unimaginably long. And in a day of Brahma, Krishna appears once. Similarly, every day of Brahma has 360, every year of Brahma has 360 days. Similarly, in that way 50 years Brahmaji has passed. So which means in the current Brahma's age, almost 180 18,000 times Krishna has already appeared. Like that, this must be like that. There are millions of Brahmas all over the universe, and they have changed so many times also. So therefore, there is no. So even though Krishna Avatara is in this particular day had not happened before Lord Ram came, but in so many days of Brahma, Krishna had already come, and these literatures are eternal. So they had access to these literatures describing the pastimes of Krishna. So therefore one need not think, how is it that when Krishna had not appeared, the Dandakaranya rishis could meditate on Krishna? So they were meditating on Krishna, performing devotional service towards Krishna, and in the meantime Lord Ram comes there along with Mother Sita. So when Mother Sita when they see Lord Ram and Mother Sita, immediately they understand, oh, here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if we directly pray to him, he can fulfill our desires very easily. So they prayed to Lord Ram in order to give them an opportunity to become the conjugal associates of Krishna. So now one may say, so because they understood that Lord Ram to be the Supreme Lord, they thought that, oh, the Supreme Lord can very quickly respond to our desires. There is another story, another explanation of this, which is commonly known, commonly spoken, but Srila Jiva Goswami does not agree with this story. And there is a reason for this, we will try to understand. So the story is that these Dandakaranya rishis, they got very much attracted to Lord Ram's form. So they requested Lord Ram, please marry us. And then Lord Ram said, no, in this life I am just an Ekapatni Vrata. I marry only one woman, so I cannot marry all of you. But in my next incarnation I will come as Krishna, and I can experience conjugal pastimes with all of you. There is one such explanation. But this is not in line, this is not accepted by the Gaudiya Acharyas. Why? Because the principle is yadyad diyata urgaya vibhavayanti tattad vapu pranayase sadanugrahaya. It is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto, Brahmaji offers his prayers, he says, whatever mood, whatever form the devotee aspires to worship, the Supreme Lord ensures that he gets only that form, to worship that form of the Lord. So if they were aspiring to worship Lord Ram and unite with Lord Ram, then how is it possible that they got union with Lord Krishna? This is contrary to the understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore Srila Jiva Goswami says, they were worshipping Lord Krishna only according to the Vedic scriptures, and they had developed this deep attachment in the mood of the gopis. Therefore when Lord Ram came, they offered prayers to Lord Ram, asking him to facilitate their union with Krishna only. And these rishis eventually became the Rishichari gopis. It is mentioned. So we will go through the verse again. Pura sarve dandakaranya vasina maharshayah. Previously, when Lord Ram had appeared, all the rishis of Dandakaranya, Drishtva Ramam Harim Tatra, seeing Lord Ram and understanding that he is non-different from the Supreme Lord. Bhoktum Echam Suvigraham. They desired enjoyment with his form, they attained forms of women and appeared in Gokula. They appeared in Vrindavan. Attaining the Lord by that Kama, they became liberated from the ocean of material world. So these are examples of Raganuga Bhaktas who attained perfection. So here Srila Jiva Goswami writes, the sages refer to all those sages who had desires following the gopis of Krishna in Gokula. So he is not indicating that they desired union with the form of Lord Ram. Here Jiva Goswami is very clearly mentioning that these sages desired conjugal union with Krishna only. But seeing Lord Ram, they desired to enjoy with him when he would appear in the future as Lord Krishna. This is the understanding. Thus they asked for this boon, not physically but within their mind they asked for this boon. Krishna's future appearance was well known to the learned from the scriptures, because in scriptures already Krishna avatar was described based on the previous appearance of Krishna. So then when they offered prayers in this way, silently Lord Ram granted their boon. He said, Tatastu, very soon Lord Krishna will come and you can attain union with Lord Krishna, like that. So and therefore these were the gopis who were born to various elderly gopis of Vrindavan, and they eventually attained Krishna due to their intense conjugal affection, and in this way they attained complete liberation. And in the Bhauma Leela, when these gopis, because it is mentioned that they became liberated from the ocean of material existence. So these gopis in Bhauma Leela, they were the ones who were logged by their husbands and relatives when they wanted to go and meet Krishna and participate in the Ras Leela. So at that time, because they were logged in their houses, they felt intense feelings of separation, and the fire of those feelings of separation burned their material body. So their material body fell down, and in their spiritual forms they left their home and joined Krishna in Ras Leela. This is how this is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So the verse that is mentioned is in 10th canto 29th chapter 9th verse. Antargrihak gata kaschid gopyo alabda vinirgama Krishnam tad bhavana yukta dadyur milita lochana. So Srila Shukadeva Goswami says, some of the gopis however could not manage to get out of their houses, and instead they remained at home with eyes closed, meditating upon him in pure love. And so by such intense meditation, their material body, their spiritual body separated from their material body, and they went and participated in Krishna Leela, in Ras Leela. So therefore, definitely through this example of the Dandakaranya Rishis who became the participants in Krishna Leela, Srila Rupa Goswami is giving the example for how males also can aspire for the mood of gopis, like that. So it's time now, so we will pause here with this discussion. So today, after discussing the practice of Raganuga Bhakti, we started discussing the Kamarupa Raganuga Bhakti or Kamanuga Bhakti, and in this theme we discussed that how we discussed the definition of the elements of practice of Kamanuga Bhakti, and we saw that it has two types, Sambhoga Ichchamayi and Tattad Bhava Ichchatma, and we also saw the pitfall of imitating. So one should not try to imitate, but one should follow in the footsteps according to the guidance of the acharyas. Then the next theme that we discussed today was the two types, the Sambhoga Ichamaya and Tattad Bhava Ichatmika, and we saw their definitions. And of the two, Tattad Bhava Ichatmika Bhakti is what is recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And how does one become qualified to practice this Kamanuga Bhakti? We saw by taking darshan of the deities, by serving the deities, and also by hearing the pastimes that Krishna performed along with the gopis. Then the final topic that we discussed today was even males can aspire for the mode of the gopis. We saw through the example of the rishis of Dandakaranya. So thank you very much for your patient listening. It was a very wonderful experience sharing this subject matter with you. So hoping to have your association tomorrow also. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.